What do you think this is in response to? Like, why do you think they're trying to impose this? What is, like, what would make them want to put this in schools?
I think fear.
Fear.
And I get that fear. I want to acknowledge that I also feel this fear that, I look across my church on Sunday mornings and I see a lot of gray hair. I worry about the future of my church, of my faith in this country. Everyone has seen the charts of declining religious participation and the decline in the number of people who belong to faith.
What do you think that's about?
I think a lot of it is well justified because organized religion has done a lot of damage to people, particularly if we're talking about this country. About this country is going to be Christianity, right? Now, in India it may be a conversation about Hindu nationalism, but here the dominant religion is Christianity, and we've seen that too many churches, too many faith leaders have abused that trust. A lot of Gen Z, a lot of my fellow millennials, when they hear me talking about my faith and how it informs my public service, they're like, I've never heard of this kind of Christianity, right? Like I was told that if you wanted to be a Christian, you had to hate gay people. If you wanted to be a Christian, you had to want to control women. If you wanted to be a Christian, you had to reject science. And so when Gen Z and when millennials were faced with that choice, it was a pretty easy choice for them, right? They chose their gay friends, they chose women's rights, they chose believing in science. And that, in my opinion, was always a false choice. And in fact, a lot of those positions that I just mentioned are contrary to biblical values, to the teachings of Jesus. And so, there's always going to be progressive Christians and conservative Christians. That's a very healthy debate we should always have. But in this country, it's become synonymous with right-wing politics.
All right, before I weigh in on this, let's lay a foundation and give some context. This man is a politician and running for senator. I see a bit of a conflict of interest that is getting a little bit cringy. He's involved in church ministry and is a liberal politician. So everything that he says is going to be filtered through that lens and be unbalanced, in my opinion. I, on the other hand, for the record, am not political, and I get my perspective solely from the Bible. Now, some people may appreciate that and some people may not like that. Now that that's out of the way, consider this. As I stated, I personally don't believe that Christians should be involved in politics. However, majority of our founding fathers were just like Talarico. They were politicians with cultural Christian beliefs. So today, people aren't doing something new by mixing politics and Christianity. All they're doing is following the tradition of cultural norms that have been around from the beginning. And Christians lean to the right because regardless if you want to face the truth or not, there are non-negotiables from Scripture that Democrats believe in and that are incongruent with the Bible.